Hello everyone, I'm Mini Assassin, and Pokemon Crystal with only status moves was mentally draining by the end of it, but now we can get to the much more fun stuff. Today I'll be beating Pokemon Emerald with only status moves. Once again, the rules are the same. I can only select status moves in battle, no physical or special moves are allowed. No items in battle, except for Pokeballs and held items. Battle style will be on set. I can only catch one of each unique evolutionary line. My Pokemon cannot be a higher level than the next gym leader's ace at the start of the battle. And because I actually want to challenge, no Shedinja. Now it's time to pick our starter, and this time around, all of them are terrible. None of them learn moves that can indirectly damage enemy Pokemon, so I just go for Torchic. This means May will pick Mudkip, who not only has the lowest offensive stats of all the starters, but also, importantly, doesn't know Leer. I definitely didn't try this against Trico and lose over and over. Unfortunately, you don't gain the ability to even buy Pokeballs until after you defeat May, and we can't even defeat level 2 Poochyenas. So, run over, right? Not quite. I use a GameShark code to let us buy Pokeballs, and then buy 15 of them. This is the only time I'll be cheating, by the way, and it just feels better than breaking our rules again. With Pokeballs, we can catch a Poochyyena who I named Doggo, a Zigzagoon named Lesser Dog, a Wurmple named Whimsun, and a Wingull named Glide. At this point, some of you might be asking, well, how do you gain experience if you can't drop the health of opposing Pokemon? The answer is, in a word, struggle. Struggle is a move that all Pokemon use when they run out of power points, and here in Generation 3, it does recoil damage equal to 1/4 the damage dealt. With this knowledge, we can take out Wild Wingull to slowly gain experience. I choose Wingull because of all the wild Pokemon available to us, it has the lowest power points for its attacking move of Water Gun at 25, and Glide resists it. I also tried to do this on level 2 Poochyenas and promptly lost. After a few hours, everyone gets to level 5 and Doggo learns Howl, so he actually has a valid move. Lesser Dog also learns Tail Whip, but that doesn't matter for now. I try the fight with May, and we get Mudkip to use all of his power points and start using Struggle, but get taken out. Glide will learn Supersonic at level 7, so I bite the bullet and spend a few more hours training her up until she does. This time, May is way easier. After minimizing Mudkip's defense with Lesser Dog's Tail Whip, Mudkip takes himself down after 2 hits. On the way through Petalburg Woods, I catch a Shroomish named Moldsmal, and a Team Aqua Grunt harasses a Shroomish fanatic, so we dispatch him with Tail Whips and Supersonics. Whimsun also evolves twice, becoming a Dustox, who, for the purposes of this run, is better than Beautifly. In preparation for the gym, I train Moldsmal up to the level cap of 15, and she learns Leech Seed and Stun Spore. The gym battle itself is also pretty easy. Roxanne's Geodudes both get hit by Leech Seed and Stun Spore, then I switch to Lesser Dog to growl at them, so they do much less damage. Roxanne uses a potion on each of them, but that just means she won't use it on Nosepass. Speaking of Nosepass, she also gets hit by a Leech Seed and Stun Spore, but she uses Block, so we can't switch. Fortunately, she has terrible luck and misses 3 Rock Tombs, on top of being fully paralyzed 3 times. Even with the Oranberry and a crit, she can't take down Moldsmal, so we win the Stone Badge. Mr. Stone gives us a letter to deliver to his son, Steven, who's in a cave in Dewford Town. We deliver it, and with the praise from Steven, Vulcan has the courage to evolve into a Combusken. Brawly is up and his Machop goes down quickly, even if he does take down Doggo, Lesser Dog, and Vulcan in the process. His real threat is Meditite, whose only move is Focus Punch. Focus Punch is an exceptionally powerful move, but fails if the user gets hit by an attacking move. Since we can't do that, every use of Focus Punch will hit. Fortunately, Meditite likes to set up. We can growl with Glide until Meditite's defense is maxed from Bulk Up, so he won't use it anymore, then growl some more as he sets up screens. At this point, Focus Punch is doing much less damage, so we can use Supersonic in the hopes of not taking any. Unfortunately, he snaps out of confusion when Moldsmal comes out to use Leech Seed and Stun Spore, but Focus Punch doesn't do that much as Effect Spore puts Meditite to sleep. Paralysis is much more beneficial to us, so I keep using Stun Spore until it connects, then switch to Whimsun. I start to use Harden, but I realize that I want Glide out when Makuhita comes out, so I can start growling immediately. Of course Meditite gets a crit though, knocking Glide out. Meditite gets fully paralyzed on the turn he goes down, then Makuhita is out. I paralyze and seed him, then switch to Whimsun, who walls him easily thanks to quad-resisting fighting type moves, winning us the battle and the Knuckle Badge. Not much of interest happens in Slateport City, other than Whimsun learning Protect. On Route 110, we catch a Gulpin named Astigmatism. She knows Poison Gas, so now we have a more reliable way to deal with grass types, as long as they aren't also part Poison type. May has a Lombre, so we're good to take her on. Astigmatism manages to hit her very first Poison Gas, then we stall with Lesser Dog and Glide. I switch back to Astigmatism hoping Lombre uses Absorb and triggers Liquid Ooze. She does, but not before taking down Glide, and it doesn't even end up making a difference since it only does 1 damage. Marshtomp comes out since he has a super effective ground type move in Mudshot, so I let Astigmatism go down so Moldsmal can come out for free. Marshtomp just uses Bide though, so Leech Seed damage takes him out without much fanfare. Slugma's Embers do big damage to Moldsmal, but she's faster so we can hit with Leech Seed, then stall with Vulcan until we win. Before we can challenge Watson, we need to beat Wally. He only has a Ralts though, so even without Doggo, it's a free win. After hitting a Poison Gas, we stall until we win. He can't even take down a member of our team. In the meantime, Whimsun learns Moonlight, Astigmatism learns Amnesia and Encore, Glide learns Mist, and Lesser Dog evolves into Lanoon, then learns Mudsport, replacing Odor Sleuth. Moving on, it's time for Watson, and this fight is weird. I try to poison his Voltorb, who proceeds to explode at full health. At this point, I'm just so shocked that Voltorb exploded on turn 1 that, instead of switching, I try to poison the Electrike and the Astigmatism gets taken out. Moldsmal seeds and tries for paralysis, missing twice as Electrike's quick attack paralyzes him from Effect Spore. I switch to Whimsun and stall until Electrike falls, bringing Magneton out. I sacrifice Glide to get a safe switch to Moldsmal, use Leech Seed and Stun Spore, then stall with Lesser Dog. I switch to Vulcan once Watson uses a Super Potion, and Magneton gets a critical Shockwave, so Vulcan and Magneton both go down. Moldsmal comes out to seed and paralyze the Manectric, then waste turns. Manectric gets healed by a Citrus Berry, but he gets fully paralyzed so much that by the time Moldsmal goes down, there's no way he can beat both Lesser Dog and Whimsun, so Watson is defeated and we get the Dynamo Badge. I make my way up through the Fiery Path and into Mount Chimney to take on Maxie. Astigmatism hits a Yawn through Sand Attack, then I switch to Moldsmal, who takes a bite as Mightyena falls asleep. I seed him, then stall with Whimsun until he uses Roar and I switch to Glide, who goes down after 2 bites. Camerupt comes out and I seed and paralyze him before switching to Lesser Dog. He gets burned, so eventually he goes down, but not before stalling long enough that Camerupt gets taken out. Zubat hits hard, but Moldsmal seeds him, then Astigmatism puts him to sleep. Unfortunately, he wakes up and brings down Vulcan with a critical wing attack, but we still have 3 remaining team members when Zubat faints. While training for Flannery, Astigmatism learns Toxic, replacing Poison Gas, then evolves into Swallow. Moldsmal learns Poison Powder, then she evolves into Breloom. With our 2 most important team members evolved, I figure I can give Flannery a shot. I badly poison the Numel with Toxic, then Encore her into Sunny Day. When Numel runs out of Sunny Day power points, I switch to Glide and Flannery heals. I just use Growl as Numel hits a takedown, then Glide falls to an Overheat as Numel goes down. Moldbig hits a Leech Seed, then gets one-shot by Overheat. Not sure what I expected, but now Camerupt's at -2 special attack. She doesn't know any ground-type moves, so Vulcan can wall her quite easily, especially with Leech Seed healing. Slugma comes out and poisons Vulcan with Smog, so I switch back to Astigmatism and use Toxic after encoring Slugma into Smog. I set up Amnesias and I want to save my last Encore to hopefully lock Torkoal into Sunny Day, but Slugma uses it instead. When Slugma goes down, Astigmatism lands a Toxic as Torkoal hits a soft Overheat thanks to all the Amnesias we set up. Torkoal's White Herb activates, so she lands another full power Overheat, then switches to Body Slam. Unfortunately, it gets the 30% paralysis chance, so we can't outspeed and use Encore. I try to growl with Vulcan, but forget about Torkoal's White Smoke ability, which prevents all stat loss that isn't from moves like Overheat. I switch to Whimsun on a Body Slam as Torkoal goes down, winning us the Heat Badge. With Flannery down, Norman's Normal-type gym is open to us, and it's a tough one. His signature TM move is Facade, which doubles in power if the user is poisoned, burned, or paralyzed. You can tell it's Facade and not Facade because the C doesn't have a tail. Anyway, Spinda goes okay but takes out Lesser Dog with Facade. Vigoroth takes out Glide with Feint Attack and Vulcan with Facade, then goes down. It gets really bad when Lanoon comes out and uses Belly Drum, which cuts his health in half but raises his attack to +6. Whimsun manages to shrug off 2 Facades thanks to Protect, but otherwise, I just got swept by a gym leader. I've noticed Glide has been woefully underpowered since, the first gym, but I can't really blame her. Wingull's stats are atrocious, with her only decent one being Speed. Other than that, her highest is Special Attack, which we can't even use. I backtrack to Granite Cave and catch a Sableye named Magic, who not only has better stats than Wingull, but also has 3 immunities, Psychic, Fighting, and most importantly for Norman, Normal. I turn her up to level 25 and she learns Detect, so I try Norman again. By switching between Astigmatism and Magic, we can take no damage from Spinda. I make sure to use Detect with Magic on a turn that she isn't confused so that Astigmatism is out when Spinda faints. This lets us badly poison the Vigoroth immediately as he hits a critical slash. After a bit of stalling with Magic, I switch to Vulcan thinking a Feint Attack is coming, but Vigoroth fails an Encore. Switching back to Magic, I use Foresight thinking Norman will heal, but he doesn't, and hits a surprisingly soft Feint Attack, then goes down. Thankfully, Norman sends out Slacking, and in Generations 1 to 3, when a Pokemon faints due to a status condition, the next Pokemon comes out in the middle of the turn. This normally doesn't mean squat, but in this case it counts as a turn for the purposes of Truant, so Slacking can't do anything on his first turn, allowing us to freely switch to Moldbig. I use Leech Seed and Poison Powder, then switch between Magic and Astigmatism until Slacking falls, and our entire team is back to full health. When Slacking faints, Astigmatism is out, so even though Lanoon uses Belly Drum, we can hit a Toxic to prevent a sweep. Also, Lanoon can't hit Ghosts, so Magic just waits until Lanoon falls, and Norman gives us the Balance Badge. After teaching Lesser Dog Surf and clearing out the Weather Institute, we are given a Castform, who I named Jerry. Jerry gets ditched and put in the box, where she'll stay for the rest of the playthrough. Also, Castform's status moves just suck. Right after this is another fight with May, but she only has 3 Pokemon, so Astigmatism and Moldbig take out her entire team in a few turns. Before taking on Winona, I decide to travel to Lily Cove City. En route 121, I find and catch a Shuppet named Napstablook. Now comes the hard decision of who to take off the team. Astigmatism and Moldbig are obviously vital team members. Magic and Whimsun both know protection moves, and Lesser Dog's pickup, exists, I guess? Vulcan has none of these, so I make the executive decision to bench our starter. Once everyone is at the level cap, I take on Winona. She leads a Swablu that likes to use Perish Song. Ideally, I'd have a Pokemon that knows a trapping move like Mean Look, but none of the Pokemon available to us learn any before the level cap. I badly poison her, encore her into Perish Song, then switch to Moldbig. When Winona switches to Pelipper, I use Leech Seed and stall with Lesser Dog until Winona heals. I switch back to Astigmatism and hit a Toxic, then wait until Pelipper faints. Altaria is next, so Astigmatism takes a hard Earthquake, breaks through Confusion, and hits another Toxic. Then I switch to Lesser Dog and Growl to offset any Dragon Dances. Because of her Oranberry, Winona doesn't heal, so Altaria goes down much quicker and Swablu comes back out, having been cured by Natural Cure. I switch to Moldbig as Swablu fails a Mirror move, then use Poison Powder as Swablu uses another Mirror move to do the same. After switching to Lesser Dog, Tropius comes out and takes in Sunlight for Solar Beam. I switch back to Moldbig and miss a Poison Powder after taking the damage, then she goes down. I send in Astigmatism and land a Toxic, then stall with Whimsun, who nearly goes down to a critical Aerial Ace, but Tropius goes down first, and Skarmory comes out. I sacrifice Lesser Dog so that Napstablook can come in for free and use Curse, and Skarmory faints a few turns later, so we win the Feather Badge. After some evil team shenanigans at Mount Pyre, I catch a Duskull named Luke's, but we need Lesser Dog strength in order to get through the Magma Hideout, so she'll be chilling in the box for a bit. In the core of the Magma Hideout, Groudon does a super jump, and Maxie challenges us. Astigmatism badly poisons his Mightyena, then encores him into Swagger. He hits a Swagger on Napstablook, but a held Person Berry cures the confusion. Napstablook hangs on from a bite to curse Crobat, who goes down a few turns later. Camerupt goes down easy, fainting soon after getting hit by Toxic and Leech Seed. Now we can move on to Moss Deep City, home of the Psychic Gym, which in Emerald is a double battle against Tate and Eliza. Half our team is weak to Psychic, so in preparation for the gym, I teach Moldbig and Napstablook Protect, Whimsun learns Toxic, replacing Harden, Astigmatism learns Stockpile and Swallow, replacing Yawn and Amnesia, Magic learns Confuse Ray, Luke's learns Will-O-Wisp and Curse, and Napstablook and Luke's both evolve into Bayonet and Dusclops respectively. After reaching the level cap and giving everyone citrus berries, I try the gym fight. I protect with Whimsun and Will-O-Wisp the Claydol. Thanks to the burn, Claydol's Earthquake does half damage, so they'll be much more likely to pick Psychic. This lets me switch to Magic for free, since any Psychics directed at Whimsun will be redirected to Magic and do nothing. I confuse Xatu, then Claydol, and get insanely lucky as we take no damage until Xatu snaps out of Confusion and KOs Napstablook. Moldbig protects to avoid a Psychic, then manages to land a Leech Seed on Xatu before going down. Tate and Liza heal Xatu as I use Toxic on him, then Claydol goes down. Xatu gets healed again as I get a free light screen while Lunatone sets up. Since Lunatone is now at +2 special attack, I badly poison it as Xatu and Lunatone double up to take Whimsun down. Xatu goes down, so I curse and confuse the Soul Rock as Luke's gets taken out. Astigmatism manages to avoid damage entirely for 2 turns and badly poison the Soul Rock. Lunatone takes her out, then falls to Toxic as Soul Rock uses a useless Psychic. I have Magic Detect on a Flamethrower as Soul Rock succumbs to Toxic and Curse, winning us the Mind Badge. Honestly, I thought I was going to have to catch a bunch of Dark types and train them all up in order to win this battle. I'm glad the team managed to pull through, even if it was mostly dumb luck. While we were struggling at the gym, Team Magma stormed the Moss Deep Space Center. We walk in, tell them to stop, and Steven gets Spartacate. He asks us for help in defending himself, and I oblige. He totally didn't need my help though, since he carried the fight with his Metang after Maxie graciously gave him a +2 attack boost. To thank us for our help, Steven gives us the HM for Dive. Ideally, I'd like to have no more than 2 HM, Blackbirds. So I catch a Tropius named Sunderplane to teach Fly, Strength, and Rock Smash to, and a Lombre named Frogget to teach Surf and Dive to. After diving into the seafloor cavern and finding a sleeping Kyogre, Archie teaches it how to fly, and it leaves. Then Archie battles us. His Mighty Ina is as easy as ever, still only being able to do damage with Swagger. Crobat goes down from burn damage, nearly taking down Astigmatism in the process, and Sharpedo likes to spam Taunt, which prevents the affected Pokemon from using status moves. It's annoying, but I manage to find an opening and use Toxic. Then we win rather quickly. After demolishing Archie in his cave, he and Maxie have a brief spat, then Steven yells at us to get back to Sutopolis. When we arrive, Kyogre and Groudon are fighting, and Groudon is either way more powerful than Kyogre, or extremely cocky. Just look at all that water! Regardless, Steven guides us to the Cave of Origin, where we meet Wallace, and somehow know that Rayquaza is at Sky Pillar. Wallace asks us to go find Rayquaza, but he never actually tells us where Sky Pillar is. Thankfully, I have the internet, so I know exactly where it is. When we get there, Rayquaza decides that I'm too ugly and leaves, but I'm a tenacious little fart and chase it back to Sutopolis, where both Groudon and Kyogre are defeated with a single Hyper Voice from Rayquaza. Now that the Sutopolis gym is open, we can challenge Juan. Unfortunately, Surf is required to get to the gym, which means Luke's will be sitting this one out. His Love Disc isn't a threat, and Whimsun walls her easily. Juan doesn't even have full restores, so he can't reset the Toxic counter. Whiscash manages to dodge 2 Toxics, then use Rain Dance. But he doesn't even hit a boosted Water Pulse until the last turn of Rain, when Whimsun is at 7 health. Whiscash dodges a Leech Seed, which would have taken him out before he could use Rain Dance again. When he goes down, Juan sends out Celio, who hits a soft Aurora Beam thanks to Light Screen, as Leech Seed heals Molbig back to nearly full. Light Screen fades, so I switch to Frogget, who immediately faints. I send in Magic for free and confuse Celio, who hits himself. I stall for turns with Leer as Celio hits himself again, harder this time, thanks to the defense drop. Juan doesn't heal, so Celio goes down, and Crawdaunt comes out. I confuse him, then start to Leer. After a few turns, he uses Taunt, so I have to switch. I switch to Molbig, only to get taunted again, so I switch back to Magic, who gets taken out by a critical Crabhammer. Astigmatism lands a Toxic, then stalls through Crabhammers and Juan's Hyper Potion until Crawdaunt goes down, with Astigmatism at 3/4 health. Juan's final Pokemon is Kingdra, and while he managed to take down Astigmatism, Napstablook manages to stall long enough for us to win the Rain Badge. I make my way to the Evergrande Pokemon Center in front of Victory Road. Wally is inside and will battle us, but thankfully HMs are not required to get to him, so we can take him on with our full team of 6. Before the fight, I teach Luke's Protect in place of Foresight, then initiate the battle. His lead Altaria likes to start with Safeguard, so I have Napstablook Curse, then send out Astigmatism. I punish his greed by encoring him into Dragon Dance, then land a Toxic after Safeguard wears off, and Wally uses a full restore. I switch to Whimsun in case Encore wears off and I need to use Protect, but it doesn't, and Altaria falls. Gardevoir comes out, and I'm sure he could one-shot anyone weak to Psychic, so I switch to Magic, but he just uses Future Sight. I use Foresight to negate his double teams, then confuse him and lower his defense. A Future Sight will eventually take Magic out, but for whatever reason, Gardevoir refuses to use it, so eventually he knocks himself out. After confusing Delcatty, she hits herself, then puts Magic to sleep, so I switch to Molbig, who lands a Leech Seed and takes a soft Thunderbolt from Assist. Once she tries to use Sing again, I switch to Magic. Then, confident she won't use Sing, I switch to Astigmatism on what ends up being a Toxic. I wanted to Encore Delcatty into anything other than Assist, but Astigmatism ends up being faster, so she gets locked into Assist. She doesn't end up doing any damage, but she does set up Safeguard, which is kind of annoying. Magic finally wakes up and tries to land a Confuse Ray, but Safeguard blocks it. After being rocked by Roselia's Giga Drain, Safeguard drops and we hit a Confuse Ray, so Roselia hits himself. He snaps out of it and takes Magic out, so I send in Luke's to Curse and Will-O-Wisp as she gets badly poisoned, then goes down soon after. Wally heals as Napstablook uses Protect, then reburns Roselia. A few turns later, he goes down. Napstablook outspeeds and curses the Magneton, who can't do much to Whimsun, especially when she sets up Light Screen. So Wally is defeated and we can move through Victory Road. After getting through Victory Road, I find a Heart Scale and go back to Fall Arbor Town to have Astigmatism relearn Amnesia in place of Stockpile, and teach her Rest from a TM in place of Swallow. I also replace Magic's Detect with Protect. They're essentially the same, but Protect has more power points. I also decide to spend the majority of my money on revives, since I decided to become a gardener and grow berries that can heal any Pokemon as good as or better than a Pokécenter, so long as they're not unconscious. Because I'm impatient and grinding is extremely difficult, with everything in Victory Road knowing Roar or Whirlwind, I decide to take on the league before getting to the level cap of 55, which matches Drake's Salamence. I give Astigmatism a Chesto Berry and everyone else Citrus Berries. Every member of the Elite Four, including the champion, all like to open with status moves. I can use Encore to render them mostly useless for at least a few turns. More if Astigmatism can outspeed and trap them into it again after Encore ends. Sydney and his Dark types aren't a problem. At first. Mighty Ina gets Encored into Sand Attack and badly poisoned. Magic has the Keen Eye ability, which means sand attacks have no effect. I switch her in and confuse my Dina after hitting a Leer. He hits himself, which gets his health low enough that poison will KO him before Sydney can heal. Shiftry likes to spam double team, so right away I land a Foresight to negate them. I switch in Luke's, who manages to burn Shiftry through confusion, then switch back to Magic to absorb an extra sensory, which is Shiftry's only attacking move. He can still hit Magic with Swagger though. I switch to Whimsun as Sydney heals, then land a Toxic as he hits a meaningless Torment. After Whimsun gets confused and hits herself, I predict an extra sensory and switch to Magic. As Shiftry goes down, I switch to Astigmatism and miss a Toxic as Cacturne hits a Leech Seed. Thanks to Torment, we can't use Toxic right away, as Liquid Ooze causes Cacturne to take damage from Leech Seed instead of healing. Astigmatism outspeeds and encores him into the now useless Leech Seed as she misses another Toxic. As Encore ends, I try to use it again, but we must be speed tied since Cacturne moves first and gets locked into Feint Attack. I have Astigmatism rest back to nearly full health as her Chesterberry wakes her up and Cacturne goes down. Crawdaunt likes to start with Swords Dance, so I punish his greed with an Encore, then use Toxic followed by Rest. It ends up being a short Encore though, so I switch to Luke's on a Strength, and since Crawdaunt's only physical moves are Normal type, Luke's is safe to burn him as Sydney heals. After some switching between Moldbig and Luke's, Crawdaunt falls and Absol comes out. He also knows Swords Dance, and since Astigmatism is asleep, we can't Encore him into it, so I opt to use Curse instead. He doesn't even manage to take out Luke's since he missed a Rock Slide, so Absol goes down and Sydney is defeated. Phoebe is the easiest of the Elite Four. Her Dusclops starts with Protect, and if I use Encore, it'll take at least another 2 turns to get a Toxic off. More if Protect doesn't fail. Instead, I badly poison her after her initial Protect, and she winds up choosing Curse. I Encore her into it and switch to Magic as Phoebe heals. After landing a Curse on Magic and hitting herself in confusion, I badly poison her again, this time with Whimsun, so she goes down a few turns later. All Bayonet does is spam Grudge and miss Will-O-Wisps until she lands a Shadow Ball on Astigmatism, who promptly rests, and Bayonet falls. Thanks to Astigmatism's Chestoberry waking her up, Phoebe's second Bayonet gets badly poisoned as she hits a surprisingly soft Psychic. Astigmatism starts to use Amnesia, causing Bayonet to switch to Shadow Ball, which is a physical move in Generation 3. Astigmatism hangs on, then rests back to full health, but is now asleep, so I switch to Magic, who stalls until Bayonet goes down. Phoebe then sends out her own Sableye, who takes out Magic with a Shadow Ball. Whimsun badly poisons her as she sets up double teams. Unfortunately, Phoebe heals her Sableye, and Whimsun needs to hit another Toxic. And she lands the Toxic. Sableye falls soon after, while Whimsun stays healthy with Moonlight. Dusclops is last and gets badly poisoned. Try as she might though, she can't take out Whimsun, even with super effective Rock Slide, so Phoebe is down. Glacia is the most annoying Elite Four member because her Celio starts with Hail, which does chip damage to my entire team. At least I can Encore her into it until she goes down, even getting Glacia to use one of her full restores. Glalie only knows special attacking moves, and with Astigmatism's special defense maxed out, she takes nearly nothing from Glalie's Ice Beams. Celio number 2 sets the Hail back up since it ran out while Glalie was out. Astigmatism outspeeds and Encores her into that, making the fight nearly identical to the first Celio. Glalie number 2 is a different story though. After waking up, Astigmatism lands a Toxic, then rests back to full health. Once Glalie gets low though, she uses Explosion, which, of course, gets a critical hit and takes Astigmatism down. Last is Glacia's scary Walrein, who likes to use Sheer Cold, which instantly KOs any Pokemon if it hits. Thankfully it misses and Luke's can land a Curse, then use Protect to stall another 2 power points thanks to Luke's pressure ability. With only 1 Sheer Cold left, she can only take out 1 Pokemon, but she misses with that one too. Then Glacia heals her back to full health. Surf does big damage, so I switch to Napstablook only for Walrein to get a critical hit and leave Napstablook with 11 health before going down, winning us the battle against Glacia. Drake has Dragon types, so he's naturally scarier than the first 3 Elite Four members. Much like Phoebe, his Shelgon opens with Protect, and this time I Encore him into it before using Toxic, but fail to do anything before Encore ends. I eventually get the bad poison to stick, then switch to Luke's on a double edge. As Drake heals, Luke's curses the Shelgon, then stalls until he faints. Flygon is a menace, and after pivoting to Magic through Molbig, I confuse him, but he only ends up hitting himself once before taking Magic out. This gives me a free switch to Napstablook, who survives an Earthquake and curses Flygon, but falls in the process. After some tactical stalling with Luke's and Molbig, Flygon goes down and Altaria comes out. I switch to Astigmatism on an Aerial Ace, then punish his greed and Encore him into Dragon Dance before using Toxic. After stalling with Rest and Amnesia, Altaria's Encore ends and we have a monster on our hands. I switch to Luke's on a double edge, then stall with Protect before going down, but Drake doesn't heal so Altaria falls as well. Much like Altaria, Kingdra is a greedy dragon and Astigmatism gets to Encore him into Dragon Dance, while he slowly succumbs to poison and leech seed damage. When Encore ends, I have Molbig use Protect, forgetting that Drake still has a full restore to heal Kingdra back to full. Kingdra seems insistent on using Smokescreen though, and Moldbig manages to hit a poison powder through the accuracy drop. Surprisingly, Whimsun manages to survive a body slam after the 5 attack boosts, and Kingdra faints on the next turn, sending in Drake's Salamence. Astigmatism comes in on a Flamethrower and a Dragonclaw before landing a Toxic, then encoring him into Dragonclaw. This way, he can't use Flamethrower on Whimsun, so she survives as we win the battle against Drake. The champion in this game is none other than Wallace. You know, the guy we met in the Cave of Origin? He helped us find that Rayquaza was at Sky Pillar? Ugh, never mind. He was the 8th gym leader in Ruby and Sapphire though. He leads a Wailord who knows Water Spout, which does more damage when the user is at full health. He also likes to set up the rain, which makes Water Spout deal monstrous amounts of damage. We can't let that happen, so I encore him into Rain Dance. He's faster, so we have to act quickly to get his health down. I badly poison him, then switch to Moldbig and use Leech Seed. When encore ends, Wallace heals and Moldbig lands a poison powder. After using Protect, I switch to Luke's as Wailord misses a Blizzard. Another Protect means Wailord can't use Blizzard anymore, so he has to use Water Spout, which does next to nothing on a critical hit since he only has a sliver of health left. Tentacruel is also scary, since he's fast and hits really hard, even without the rain. After getting rocked by a Hydro Pump, Luke's uses Curse, nearly taking herself out. I switch to Moldbig on a Hydro Pump, which despite being resisted deals nearly half of her health. I use Leech Seed thinking Wallace will heal, but he doesn't, and Tentacruel takes out Moldbig with an Ice Beam before going down. Ludicolo brings down Luke's with a Surf, then Whimsun lands a Toxic through Double Team. I switch to Magic and land a Foresight after Ludicolo uses Leech Seed, then switch back to Whimsun to remove the seeds. Thanks to the health he got back from Leech Seed, Wallace doesn't heal and Ludicolo goes down. Whiscash gets badly poisoned as he just uses Amnesia, then starts hitting hard Earthquakes. But Moonlight and Protect keep Whimsun healthy until Wallace heals and we land another Toxic. Whiscash nearly takes out Whimsun with a critical Earthquake, but we heal back up as he uses Hyper Beam, then goes down on the recharge while I Brain Fart and whiff a Protect. Because we didn't heal, Gyarados takes out Whimsun with a Hyper Beam, but that lets Napstablook burn him for free, then curse him as he hits a mediocre Surf. When Wallace heals, Napstablook hits a second Will-O-Wisp before switching to Magic on another Surf as Gyarados goes down. Last is Milotic, who whiffs a Toxic and gets confused, but immediately snaps out of it and takes out Magic with a Surf, followed by an Ice Beam. I send in Astigmatism to set up Amnesia since Milotic only knows special attacks. Once she's at maximum special defense, she rests back to full and her Chesto Berry wakes her up. Then she's free to Toxic and wait. Thankfully, Milotic doesn't get a crit, which would bypass our Amnesias and take Astigmatism out. Since he didn't though, Milotic goes down and we're crowned the champion, which wins us the challenge. But much like in Pokemon Crystal, Emerald has a post-game fight, this time with former champion, Steven Stone. Before the fight though, I pick up the leftovers from the SS title in Slateport City. On top of that, I'm going to add some new members to the team. First is a Beldum named Memory Head that we can pick up from Steven's house after becoming champion. Second is a Magikarp named Washua that I catch in Sootopolis City. Because I have editing to do, and grinding takes hours at this point, I use rare candies to level my team up. Yell at me in the comments if you want. Washua and Memory Head both evolve into their final forms, and because we need Surf and Waterfall to even try this fight, Washua takes that burden, on top of finally being the recipient of our one and only Toxic TM. Memory Head learns Iron Defense, and I teach them Reflect, Light Screen, and Protect from TMs. Steven's team are all leveled in the mid to high 70s, but since I have levels on demand, I'm going to try the fight at level 60. Steven leads a Skarmory, and he knows Spikes, which does damage to non-flying types that enter the battle. If he uses it at all, I have to restart the fight. I have Luke's use Curse as Skarmory uses Toxic, but a held Lumberry cures it. Skarmory lands a Steel Wing as we wait for Curse to do its job. Then, when Steven heals, Luke's whips a Will-O-Wisp, then goes down. I send out Moldbig, and because of the quad flying type weakness, Aerial Ace can one-shot her. Steven knows this and won't use anything but Aerial Ace if he can. I know that Steven knows, so I protect with Moldbig, then switch to Memory Head as Skarmory goes down without using Spikes. Leftovers heals Memory Head a bit as Claydol comes out. I switch to Washua on an Earthquake, use Toxic as Claydol just sets up Reflect, then send in Moldbig to use Leech Seed after taking 2 soft Earthquakes. Claydol goes down, but does a large chunk to Memory Head in the process. Aggron gets baited out, and I switch to Moldbig on an Earthquake, then land a Leech Seed. After some time, Aggron goes down, and Armaldo is next, so I switch to Memory Head on an Ancient Power, then carefully stall him until he's out of Ancient Power points. I switch to Washua since he can't be hit for super effective damage, and badly poison Armaldo. When Steven heals, I make sure to have Moldbig out and use a Leech Seed, then switch back to Memory Head to tank the incoming Aerial Ace before stalling until he faints. With 4 out of 6 of Steven's team taken care of, our team has everyone above 3/4 health. But in comes Steven's true run ender, his Metagross. This thing hits like a truck and can't even be poisoned, so I have to use a Leech Seed. Problem is that it can outspeed and one-shot Moldbygg, so I have to stall it out of Psychic power points. Fortunately, by switching between Memory Head and Washpa, we can stall it out of both Earthquake and Psychic simultaneously. Because Shadow Ball and Psychic have overlapping damage onto Washpa, Earthquake runs out first and I try for Encore with Astigmatism. She doesn't do much of anything before being taken out though, but Moldbygg gets in without taking damage. After protecting their last Psychic power point, she's free to Leech Seed and wait until Steven's scariest team member falls. Last is Cradilly, but because I'm paranoid that he might get 5 Ancient Power Boosts or insane critical hit luck, I stall him out of power points until he's forced to use Ingrain, then switch to Washwa and badly poison him. After a few turns, Cradilly goes down and we've won against Steven. Well, that was a fun challenge. I'm surprised that Whimsun was as useful as she was, especially since early game bug types didn't get good until Unova. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button to let me know. Next time, I'll be playing Pokemon Fire Red without attacking, and you should subscribe so you don't miss it.